ages since I was here. I went on holiday for 3 weeks and I'm finally back. I just got back in last night. Well, not even last night. Let's just say at the crack of, at like 1 a.m. this morning. I was actually born in London, and my parents, my siblings, all my cousins, my aunts, everyone, they all live there. It's just me out here in New York. So I try to get home as much as I can. And I like to take, my kids and my husband over every summer at least, so they can get some family time in. So we did that this year. We started off in London, which was lovely as always. And then we went to Northern Ireland because my son is a huge fan of the Titanic. I know it's an odd one, but I don't know. He likes the Titanic. He's really into those big ships like the White Star Line ships. And so he wanted to go to the Titanic Museum in Belfast. And so we decided to add Belfast to our itinerary, and we stopped there. We went to the Titanic Museum, and then we took a drive up the Antrim coast and checked out the Giant's Causeway. I mean, just absolutely stunning, gorgeous. I really recommend it as a trip. Obviously, Belfast was grey and rainy, but regardless, a fantastic time. After the rain and the coziness of Belfast, it was nice to add a contrast of a little bit of sun and fun. And for that, we went to the south of Portugal. We went to the Algarve for a few days and spent some time in the sun. Everybody got nice and tan, relaxed. And at the end of the 3 weeks, I was really happy to hurry back to New York to be reunited with my plants. For me, 3 weeks is the maximum of what I like to be away from home for. And at that point, I'm really ready to get back to my plants. What's nice about it is, to me, that's enough time that you walk in and usually you can see lots of huge changes with the plants, right? Like there's lots of growth, especially because it's July, which is the height of growing season. A ton of stuff is growing, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to come home and really enjoy all the new growth. You know what they say, a watched kettle doesn't boil. And I'm always watching my new leaves, like, has it grown? Has it grown? I've even been known to get out my ruler and just hover over them constantly. So going away for some time is always nice for me because you come back and everything looks different without all the angst of hovering and wondering what the new growth is going to look like. And so I was really looking forward to that part. Well, imagine my disappointment when I walked in and everything looked basically the same, and in many instances worse. Now, before I even get into the ins and outs of what happened, there are some important factors that I need to mention. Number one, there was a massive heat wave while we were gone, so the temperature was probably higher in here than it otherwise would have been. I did leave the air conditioning on around like 77 Fahrenheit, so I feel like that should have been enough to keep the plants okay. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, who knows? I mean, I have a lot of southern exposure, so the greenhouse effect is quite strong in here. It does get quite hot, who knows? I asked one of the staff who works in our building to water the plants for me twice a week, and I arranged to pay her to do so. Gave her a schedule, and I said water them on, I think it was like Monday and Thursday or something like that. And we agreed that that's what it would be, which I think is plenty for most of the plants in here, honestly. Even like the anthuriums, I think twice a week is about right. In fact, that's erring on the side of a good amount of water for most of them, right? But given the amount of light that comes in here, I figured they would be fine. I did not have her fertilize them because I just thought that's too much of an ask. Even though I'm paying her, it just felt like too much to be messing around with fertilizer. And I figured 3 weeks without fertilizer wasn't gonna make that much of a difference, right? Well, I got home and I was like shocked. First of all, there's barely any new growth. It's crazy. Almost nothing has grown. One or two random things have grown, like a new leaf, but other than that, there's barely any new growth, which is really, really odd because, again, 3 weeks is a good amount of time. You would think there would be like new growth, new growth, new growth in that space of time. So I'm kind of shocked, to be honest. And then, beyond the fact that there isn't barely any new growth, like, things look horrible. I barely recognize my plants. Everything is like parched and dry and pest riddled, so it's quite a disappointing outcome for me. And it's not the first time I've left my plants. I mean, I leave them every summer, and for lots of times during the year, I leave them as well, and they're typically fine. So I'm gonna have to reevaluate, I guess, who I ask to watch them and how I have them do it. I don't know. Maybe set up some irrigation or some self-watering things next time I go. I don't know, but I thought I'd take you guys through on a walkthrough of the whole collection just so you can see what things are looking like at the moment. I'll show you what did okay, what didn't do okay, and then I'll tell you what we need to do to get back on track. So I thought it would be good to start with the plants that live directly in the window back here, okay? There are really only two of them. There's this Dollar Tree vine and my cactus. So I'm just going to show you what they're looking like right now so you can see if they're doing okay or not. Okay, so the cactus, I don't know. It looks like it always looks to me. I'm not sure if it's unhappy. I'm not sure if it's okay. It doesn't look like it's dying, so I'm gonna assume it's fine. I'll just keep watering it the way I do. It's now fully resting on the lip of the window, so it's grown a bit, and looks like it's flowered a few times while I was gone, so that's good. But yeah, I think the cactus is okay. It looks all right. And here's the Dollar Tree vine. At first, I thought it looked okay. Like, it didn't look bad, right? But then I sort of got a closer upfront look. The leaves are really, really parched. It probably doesn't really come through on camera, and I don't know how to kind of show it properly. Things like this are happening. They're like crisped up, and the leaves are extremely soft, which shows just how parched and in need of water. Oh God, I broke that one. It's really parched and it really needs water. I think it's in pretty poor shape, unfortunately. There are lots of new bits, like it's attempted to put up new growth. Every time I touch some of the new growth to try to show you, it just falls off because it's burnt to a crisp. It's all dried out. Look at this. Do you see? It's like just got all these brown bits that just look terrible. I think I'm gonna have to repot it. I'll do that soon. And then let's move over to the corner right by the window. Honestly, in my opinion, the plants in the corner behind me fared just fine. Most of them are doing really well, which they're right by the south window. It's not surprising because they're the type of plants that can take a lot of light, a lot of heat. They all seem fine. So I'll show you what each one of them is doing / saying, and you can see what I mean. So first up, we have my burro's tail, my donkey tail succulent. It is doing just fine. The only sort of weird thing is because I wasn't here to rotate the pot, you can see that all the leaves are kind of growing. They're like reaching for the light, so they're all kind of growing towards the window. Some of them are downright L-shaped, which I think is hilarious, but there you go. What are you going to do? Just down from that is my snake plant. It looks exactly the same as when I left, but that is what snake plants do. Like, I'm sure there's a new leaf or two, but I wouldn't be able to tell regardless because I don't know. Anyway, it looks fine, looks perfectly happy. And then next to it is my Hoya obovata, just tucked away in the corner. And let me tell you, this was the one very, very happy surprise because look at this. I'm sure can you see it? I'll come in closer. Look, guys. This is so exciting for me because I've had this obovata for I don't know how long now. A couple of years maybe. Anyway, it has never ever flowered for me. And it flowered while I was gone, so that's exciting. The leaves are looking nice and juicy. And the plant seems really healthy, and yeah, everything is good with my Hoya obovata, so that's good because it's one of my favorite plants. And then next to that there is my my burgundy rubber tree. That's fine. It's not grown massively, I think it's put out maybe a leaf or two, one leaf while I was gone. This is a plant that grows pretty fast in the summer, so I'm kind of surprised. It's fine, it's alive, and what more can you really ask for? The newest leaf is very small, so I do feel like this plant, again, this is how I know, this is one of the ways that I know that perhaps the watering schedule that I requested has not necessarily been adhered to, because this leaf is tiny and the new growth is looking kind of shriveled. I'm going to inspect the plant a bit closer and see if there are any spider mites. Sometimes when there are spider mites, that's what happens, but typically when I see that, I know it's just underwatering. This is my Thermatophyllum sprucianum. Honestly, this plant did just fine. It did really well. This plant is getting ridiculous for the space. Actually, this is one that put up a new leaf while I was gone. So here's the newest leaf. And it's really beautiful and cool to look at. I am considering getting rid of this plant by maybe moving it to the lobby in my building. This is my rabbit. I think, it's like a felt? It's a felt succulent or something. It's a Kalanchoe beharensis, I think. And it's like a rabbit foot or a felt foot, or I don't remember what the, the typical common name is, but it's fuzzy. Actually, they feel like velvet. It's like a felt bush or something. Anyway, this one's doing great. This one had no trouble and it looks beautiful, and I'm pretty happy with this one. So this one's fine. There is my Alocasia frydek, and if you look closely, and also if you know anything about frydeks, you can probably imagine what I'm about to say about this one. I'll pull it out to show you so you can have a better view and understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my frydek, and if you look closely, if you look all along the edges, you can see the telltale signs that spider mites are making themselves comfortable on this plant. Now, when I left, obviously it had no spider mites. I'm not sure what happened. One thing about a frydek is if you blink, there will be spider mites. I don't use beneficial bugs. Maybe I should use beneficial bugs when I'm going away. I don't know, but you can see the signs of spider mites on this one. So this leaf is, let me turn the back of this leaf so you can see. It's really obvious on this one. And if you look at the edges, you'll see that the spider mites are doing their big one. Yeah, they're pretty visible on the backs of all the leaves. And there's a good amount of damage. Also, when you look, there is faint webbing in between the leaves. Honestly, it's not terrible on this one. It's not too bad, all things considered. The roots look good. I mean, it's a little bit dry. It needs water, but to be honest, things could have been worse. So I'm not going to be so upset really about this one, because this is a plant that's always prone to spider mites. Like if you have this, deal with it, you're going to get spider mites. So because of the scale of infection, because of the number of plants in here that I can see spider mite damage on, I'm just going to assume that basically every plant in this space has spider mites. And when things get that sizable, I just use a miticide. So I'm going to use Forbid 4F and just knock everything out. I think that's the best way forward. Otherwise, all these solutions like neem and this and that, you're just going back and forth with them for ages. So these will be getting a miticide. I'll do it tomorrow. But for now, let me water this one. It's looking kind of dry, but yeah, here's this one. And then next to that guy behind me over here, we have a couple of snake plants. So this one, I can't remember. Oh, Sansevieria boncel. I don't know, the starfish snake plant. That one's absolutely fine. In fact, it's got a couple of mushrooms in the soil, so the soil might be a little too moist. I'm going to let it dry out a bit. And the one next to it is a dwarf samurai Sansevieria, so that one is also fine. Looks great. Soil is also on the moist side. I might dry it out a little bit, but maybe not because it seems perfectly happy. So those are both good. Those are fine. And then in front we have this. This is my Hoya Croniana Black. Like, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look amazing. So I don't know what's going on with this. Oh, okay. Here are the roots. Might be time for a wee repot for this guy. I think maybe it needs a bigger pot. I keep the Hoyas in a very small pot for as long as possible. I'm gonna upsize this one. It's got a flower down here still. This Hoya always has flowers though, so that doesn't really tell me anything. But looking at these, I don't know. I'm not a Hoya expert, so who knows? I'm just winging it, but this seems to me like maybe it's ready for a new pot. And then here, this is what was my Alocasia poly, a variegated poly, pink one. Now, when I got it, it had a leaf with a giant chunk of pink, and then I put it in my tent, and the next leaves it kicked up, this one has just a sliver of pink, and this one is full green. So I brought it out of my grow tent to live out here because I thought maybe it would be happier, and it is, but surprise, surprise, of course, it has spider mites. So as you can see, the leaves are crawling with flipping spider mites. So I'll be treating this one as well. This is another plant that when you blink, it has spider mites. If you're going to own it, that's probably going to be an issue. Usually with my spider mite prone alocasias, I try to wipe them down weekly, and that does the trick in keeping away, mites. But I have found, I think, my guess, I don't want to say for sure because, obviously I don't know, I wasn't here. My guess is that everything in here was not watered twice a week. Like maybe she watered them once a week or something. They're definitely underwatered. And usually when alocasias are stressed, spider mites are coming. So the roots are fine. It needs a repot, needs a new pot. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow as well. Not sure if that's too much change at once. And then here's my epipremnum marble. I've been going on about getting this on a moss pole forever and haven't done. But this one is fine. This one has done really well in my absence. It looks really good. It does need a repot and a moss pole. To be honest, at its current size, I don't know how I'm going to... It's going to be a bit awkward when I put it on the pole. Maybe I should chop it. I don't know. But I'm really enjoying... Look at this. Look at how pretty the variegation is, right? It's cute. So I don't know. I don't see any spider mites on it, but who knows? It's right next to all the spider mite plants, so who knows? And then next to it, this is, oh, it's dry. Yikes. This is Alocasia heterophylla, dragon's breath. I just separated this one from a bigger plant and it's doing well, but obviously the leaves are showing clear spider mite damage. I am probably going to chop both of these damaged leaves off and then just treat it. That's kind of not really a big deal. It's growing in this naked root planter, which I quite like. Look at this root system. Looks good, right? Yeah. Anyway, this one's fine. Here is the bigger Alocasia heterophylla dragon's breath. And look, this one, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is the plant that kicked off the whole infestation, because look how horrible this looks. It's covered in spider mites, so this needs to be treated. I will probably have to chop off a lot of this foliage because look, it looks terrible. The edges have yellowed. Look at how much webbing is between this one. It's crazy, right? Anyway, I will treat this tomorrow. The roots look really good, so I guess that once I've treated it, it should be okay. Moving along swiftly, it's a little bit of a mixed bag right behind me. So this one, my Alocasia watsoniana, is in horrible condition, covered in spider mites. Just assume that basically every Alocasia in this space has spider mites, which is a shame. It's really frustrating because I was really proud of this plant and it was starting to look really good. But yeah, the spider mites are really doing a number on this bad boy. So yeah, I'll have to treat this one. I hope it comes out all right. Philodendron spiritus sancti. It's got this bad smell coming out of it, and the soil looks kind of wet. So I don't know if there's root rot happening or what. If it was overwatered, I'm not sure. Only time will tell. I will probably wipe this one down, do the same preventative stuff for mites, but I think this one is okay. It looks okay. And then this guy, this is Anthurium ex Bessie. I mean, I don't see any obvious issues. It has a new leaf. This leaf came out while I was gone. It looks kind of small, but maybe it's still growing. I see very light signs of spider mite damage. I'm not 100% sure. I can see like a few dots here, but I don't know. I will treat this, of course. Now, I don't like treating the new leaves because they can get damaged very easily. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do, but I'll just cross that bridge tomorrow. And then there's this begonia. What is it called? Begonia something. Black Beauty? I don't remember. I'll put up the name. This begonia looks good. She seems fine. She's just minding her own business and staying moisturized. So yeah, begonia is in good shape. Yeah, it looks great, I think. Seems quite happy. And then there's this guy. And listen, nobody is more shocked than me, but this guy seems okay. It's got spider mite damage here. See. But honestly, this is Anthurium esmeralda. And considering how tricky this plant can be when it dries out, and I know I can tell that it dried out sometimes while I was gone. I mean I'm not mad at it's in better shape than I could have hoped for. So this leaf was perfect and now it's not, but at least it's not shriveled up and dried. There was one that was completely shriveled up and dried. I've had to cut that off, and the rest of them have some drying out damage, but it's not the end of the world. The plant still looks okay. I'm quite happy. So yeah, this one's all right. I'll treat it like the others. Here's my other variegated Frydek, which one has really lost a lot of its variegation. I don't know if it's because it's farther away from the window, but it's basically turning practically green. And two, look at this spider mites infestation. Like, this is disgusting. It's riddled with mites. It's disgusting. And honestly, these leaves are not pretty enough to save. So for this one, I think I'm just going to chop it off. To be honest, I'm not sure if I should even bother keeping this plant. I'll let you know what I decide to do. Honestly, touching all those spider mites plants is really bothering me. So I'm going to stop and I'll just show them to you. It's just difficult to do, but I'll do my best. Okay, so this is my oxalis. It is also covered in spider mites, which is really annoying. I might cut off some of the foliage. I'm not really sure what to do here. Because oxalis foliage doesn't last anyway. I'm wondering if I shouldn't just give this plant a haircut and let it try again. This is my Philodendron Amazon Spirit. It definitely has spider mites, but it seems okay, to be honest. Compared to some of the others, its damage is less noticeable, so I'll definitely treat it and wipe down all its leaves, but I don't know, it doesn't look so bad. I went to touch it and I can clearly see the webbing, so I'm not going to touch it, but I will treat it tomorrow. And then here, this is so annoying. This is my Alocasia, Anthurium ex luxurians. It is actually sat in water just to kind of reroot, but it also somehow has spider mites, which is so irritating. How do you treat a propagation for spider mites? I don't know. I'm going to find out tomorrow. I'm really pissed about this one. That is the Philodendron Majestic. Honestly, the Majestic looks okay, but I'm gonna assume it has spider mites and I just can't see them. Same goes for my, what is this? This is an Anthurium magnificum, magverde. It's got some brown on the edges and some yellowing, so I suspect spider mites. I'll treat it, but it looks alright. Not too much worse for the wear. In the back there, Philodendron glorious looks really good. I'm surprised. I'm sure if I pull it closer, there's probably spider mites because that thing is a spider mites magnet. But it looks quite good if it has spider mites. It's not obvious. And then down there is a Philodendron Splendid. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, it's a tiny Splendid. Honestly, the Splendid looks okay. I don't know if it has mites or not, but I will treat. Doesn't look like I need to cut leaves. And then there's a baby, there's a Gloriosum deep in there as well. Same, it looks okay. I'm not 100% sure. None of these plants, by the way, have any like significant new growth, which is weird. So they probably do have spider mites. And then my Philodendron pallorens. I can't see. Yeah, this has spider mites, look. See, spider mites damage. So I'm going to treat it. And look, the new leaf is so frigging stunted. Look at the new leaf, tiny. So it's horrible. I'm going to treat it. This big dope, Monstera deliciosa, looks like it's doing just fine. I mean, Monstera is always fine. That's the thing. It actually has a new leaf. Look. That's a new leaf, and this is a Monstera that I just chopped it, and it already looks ridiculous. So I also wasn't here to turn it like I usually do, rotate it, and it's covering the TV again, even though I just chopped it to solve that very problem. That one's fine. I'll treat it anyway because everything has spider mites as far as I'm concerned, but it looks pretty good. Anthurium papillilanum X Ace of Spades, and it looks horrific. It's got spider mites and the damage is crazy. Yeah, that's the new leaf, and it just, it's horrific. I don't know, I'm devastated about that one. I'll treat it. I don't know. What else can you do? It looks awful. It's just so frustrating because, you know, anthuriums take ages to give new leaves, and when they look like this, it's like I've been waiting for so long, and now the leaf looks like trash. The Bessiae Af X crystallinum looks okay. It definitely has spider mites because I can see the dots. The new leaf looks horrendous. I'm sure it's riddled with mites. It's hard with new leaves because you can't really treat them without them burning, so I don't know what to do there. This is my Philodendron Black Cardinal, which I'm planning to get rid of anyway. It looks alright, although looks like it's got blight, which it had before I left. I do not want this plant and will be getting rid of it, so whatever. This is my Philodendron SP Columbia. It is covered in, look at all the spider mite damage, which, you know, it wasn't looking so hot before I left, but now it really looks terrible. My plan was to chop this one. I had every intention actually of propagating this one just because it's too big. It's like become too tall. And it needs a moss pole, and I just don't like the way it looks anymore. And I think its spread is too wide for my apartment. You know, it's a bit overgrown for the space. And then behind it we have my Anthurium luxurians. The Lux looks pretty good. It's like slightly it's underwatered. Here's a yellow leaf, but other than that, it's a little drier than it wants to be. Other than that, it's fine. Like, luxurians is such a resilient plant, I'm not surprised it's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think it's a little bit underwatered, but otherwise it's fine. And then we have here my Philodendron micans. To be honest, the micans is in really, really great shape. I think This is a plant that I neglect, and sometimes I only water it once a month. So whatever watering happened while I was away was actually more than I usually do, and it's just so happy for it. So that's good, and I resolve to be a better plant mom who waters my mycans more often. And then in this corner of the house, I'm not going to touch any of the plants here just because I've been touching all these spider mite things, but I don't think there are spider mites here. Everything here looks okay. This is my Anthurium radicans ex luxurians. It looks fine. This is a crystallinum. It is a little bit chlorotic, kind of light bleached, so I'll have to reassess its lighting situation, but otherwise the plant looks fine. And this is a Forgetii ex clarinervium. Weird, wonderful plant. It looks okay. I do see a little evidence of spider mites, but nothing crazy. So maybe a quick treatment, but otherwise I think it's okay. Philodendron rubra platinum on the floor over there. Chugging along just fine. This guy. This is my Ficus umbellata, and this is the only plant that grew. Like, it's insane. The plant is basically kissing the grow light, and I don't really know what to do about it. It's just huge now. So this grew a ton while I was gone. Then beside it is my Ficus audrey, which is growing really, really well. It's got this grow light, this Barina stick grow light, this vertical grow light, which it really likes, and it's putting out a ton of leaves. I will say I don't think there's enough space for 2 ficuses in this corner, so I am approaching the point of having to make a decision. My Anthurium cupulis pathum is in this corner, and it looks, I don't know what's going on with it. It looks terrible. Another candidate for the bin, I'm afraid, because it looks horrible. This Anthurium king of spades had developed some root rot before I left, and so I was propagating it. I stuck it in water, and look at it. Okay, there's some rot that I need to chop off. But look at the new roots. I mean, she looks really, really good. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to chop off all this rot before it gets stem rot. Oh, it smells bad too. I might do this today. I'll chop off all the rot, and then I'm going to pot it up. Ugh. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one because I was supposed to put in a bobbler before I left and I just didn't have time. I didn't get around to sorting it. So I'm going to sort it now. And yeah, and I'll pot it up and hopefully it'll be happy. So here is my Gloriosum, which I don't see any obvious spider mites, but I feel like it must have them. I don't know, it just looks weird. It's got one dead leaf. Probably was underwater. And then up on the top of my bookcase, I have 2 pothos, which get like 0 light, but they're fine. This is a jade pothos. It looks fine. That's a golden pothos, which also looks fine. They seem alright. They seem like they've done fine. This corner, my Calathea Watsets Wixii. It looks worse for the wear because it got tap water while I was gone. And as you can see, it doesn't like tap water. We've got some yellowing, some crisping, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. In this case, you just have to wait it out, really. Go back to watering with distilled and just wait for it to kind of push out. Wait for all those chemicals, the chloramine, to be out of the system and for the plant to stop reacting to it. There's nothing I can do. Behind it, my green Maranta looks fine. To be honest, I'm sort of over the green Maranta. I'm leaning towards getting rid of it. I don't know, I'm just bored of it. And when I'm bored of a plant, it's just like, what's the point? I also find all the flowers that fall on the ground really annoying. And then this is my Anthurium. It's an Ace of Spades X. I don't remember. I think it's an Ace of Spades X Magnificum, maybe? Something like that. Ace of Spades, or is it Papillilaninum X Ace of Spades X Magnificum? Anyway, this one is in bad shape. I'm sure you look at it and think this looks okay, but let me show you. These 2 leaves are fine. These 2 leaves are fine. They were here before I left, so They're still okay. This one and this one. These are the inflows that were here when I was leaving. They're done. I don't care about that. This leaf is riddled with spider mites, so it looks horrible. And then here's the biggest, most upsetting thing of all. This was a new leaf. I have no idea what happened here. Whether it's just that it got too close to the light, whether it's that it dried out too much. I don't know what happened, but there was a leaf and now there isn't, so I'm pretty annoyed about that. That one's, ugh. It's just frustrating with anthuriums because it takes them so long to put out new leaves. And so when anything untoward happens to one, it's incredibly frustrating. So yeah, this one's in bad shape. I'm going to chop this off, treat the plant. With this corner, once you have Calathea and Maranta, they are spider mite magnets. So it's not surprising. It's just annoying. So in the corner over there is my is an Alocasia Regal Shields. Regal Shields had spider mites before I left, so I chopped off all its foliage, treated it, and the new leaf which has come out still has spider mites. This is the thing with this plant. I've had it for years and years. It never used to get spider mites, but now it gets them all the time. I'm not really sure what the plant is in this corner that is resulting in endless spider mites, but in general, I am looking for a change in this corner, and so I was planning on getting rid of this Alocasia Regal Shields anyway. I don't really want it anymore. And then the Philodendron bilietiae. Let's get closer and see. So Billy looks okay. I do not see spider mites, but I treated this plant for spider mites just before I left with a miticide and I wiped it down, so I'm not surprised that it doesn't have mites. It actually looks really good. It didn't grow a new leaf. Did it grow a new leaf? It looks like it's grown one new leaf while I was away. This one, it's got crazy aerial roots coming in. You probably can't see them. Let's get in a bit. The Billy is doing well, so I'm happy with that one. This is an Alocasia sinuata, which actually looks quite good. I see spider mites. No surprises there, but it doesn't really seem to be... Oh, do I see spider mites? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it has spider mites or not. I'll treat it anyway, but it seems to be doing well. And then beside it, this is an Anthurium Warocquianum ex Waterberryanum. This is its first leaf since I bought it. It's kind of jacked up, but it's growing in ambient. It's not terrible. I'm going to move it a bit further back, but I think it's okay. My Philodendron Prince of Orange looks okay. Another one that I'm not sure if I'm going to keep long term. And then here is my Epipremnum albo. It's been recently treated for spider mites, and the treatment seems to have taken because it looks good. This one looks quite nice. So I think this plant is doing well. This is my Monstera Thai constellation. It's looking pretty good. I think it's okay. It needs a repot. The leaves are it's a little bit underwatered, but for the most part, it looks fine. There's some browning on one of the leaves. I don't know if you can see. Nothing crazy though. I'm gonna give it a repot. It's in a tiny pot. Hoya curtisii. I do not see any signs of any problems, but it's a Hoya. I know nothing about them. If it was upset, I wouldn't know it anyway. Those are my living room plants. They seem, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a ton of work to do here in the living room, right? It's actually almost daunting. I'm nervous. I'm also kind of looking forward to the challenge of making all my plants look nice and good again, and just maybe taking the opportunity to get rid of some, clean some stuff out, and decide what do I genuinely want to have and what do I not want to bother with anymore. So that's cool. Let me show you the grow tent, because things are ugly in there. I'm very sad about it. So things in the grow tent are not looking so hot. I actually don't remember what was in this pot, but whatever it is, it's no longer with us. My Anthurium papillanum looks pretty good. It's done well. A little yellowing on the edges, but nothing crazy. The new leaf looks nice and juicy, and it's doing fine. And then we have under here an Anthurium magnificum ex Frigetii, This was in here to rehab and it's doing quite well. It's got a couple of new leaves. Seems really happy. And then we have my Anthurium wendlingeri. This one's growing nicely. It's put out a new leaf. I need to water it, but it looks good. And then here is a Tezula red crystallinum ex luxurians that was in here rehabilitating. Horrible, horrible amounts of algae, but otherwise, I would say things are pretty good. It's grown a new leaf. It's doing okay. And then the biggest tragedy of all, my Queen Anthurium really suffered. It's lost a couple of leaves, it's yellowed a couple of others, the new growth coming in on it has dried up. It's actually devastating how much this thing has suffered, especially for being in the grow tent. I would have thought if it was watered properly, it would have been okay. Anthurium waterburyanum has also suffered, but not as much as the Warocqueanum. The Warocqueanum has yellowed a bunch of leaves and waterburyanum has not. Just maybe had some crisping around the edges, but other than that, it's been fine. Okay, now we're in the bedroom and things are really uneven in here, so I'll show you, what's going on. There are, some of them look okay, some of them look terrible. So I don't know, it's bizarre. I think the watering was uneven. I think maybe there were times when they went a week with no water, and then times when they just got a bunch of water back to back. It's hard to say. Anyway, let me show you what's going on in the bedroom. I'll start with the plants right by the window because they look the best, I would say. I guess because they had perfectly fine light and stuff. I don't know if they had enough water or not, but they seem okay. I'll show you them first. Okay, so these are the plants right by my husband's bedside. I shove all my plants here whether he likes it or not. This is my Anthurium Zara X Michelle, and it looks fine. It looks like it came out a little bit wonky, which sometimes happens when they're watered unevenly as they're coming out. So it didn't get enough water, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm happy with this. This is my Anthurium veitchii. This was the last leaf it put out right before I left. Monster. It's really pretty. This one's fine, to be honest. It looks like it put out an inflorescence while I was gone. Here. And it looks like it's working on another inflorescence back there. But otherwise, the plant looks really good. And then I have a snake plant back there. This one leaf is bending. I don't know if it's too much water or too little water. Up at the top of that bookshelf, this is my Syndapsis exotica. To be honest, it looks fine. There's a couple of yellow leaves, nothing crazy. Again, some watering dilemmas, but it'll be alright. Yeah, these leaves are new, so that's nice. Some new growth. It looks fine. It's good. Here's where things get dodgy. This is my, what's this plant called again? It's an Anthurium longistrosum. I do not know what happened to this plant while I was gone. Let me show you. This is kind of ridiculous to me because this is a super resilient plant. It's not quick to show damage, so I have no idea what could have happened to have it looking so bad. It's not typical for it to look like this. It put out a new leaf. That leaf is just struggling and trying to grow. All I can think of is that maybe it got missed in the watering, and so it started sacrificing its leaves so that the plant would grow, because I don't understand it. This is another Frydek. I mean, it looks so bad. I don't know what happened to it. Did it have no water? Did it not have enough light? It doesn't actually, for once, it doesn't look like it's a spider mites issue, but it looks weird. I don't know what happened in this corner, but everything here looks horrendous. It's bizarre. This is my Anthurium besseii F. Now you might be wondering, you might be saying this one actually looks pretty good. Yes, it does. This new leaf it put out while I was gone, and here's an inflorescence. But you know what? This plant was not here in the bedroom. I put this one in the living room just to make things easier for the lady who was watering. So again, I think something funny happened in this corner because this one's fine, but it wasn't in this corner anyway. This is a pothos pearls and jade. I mean, listen, one thing about a pothos is they're gonna be fine. This one's fine. I mean, you wouldn't even know I went anywhere. She's fine. Lots of new growth. She's doing her thing. Over here, this is my Anthurium clarinervium. This one I also had in the living room, just so that it could get like enough light while I was gone. I wasn't sure. And also I just wanted it again, I wanted to make sure that this one got watered because she's pregnant. I'm trying to focus and show you the berries. I don't know why I won't focus, but she's pregnant. I actually crossed it with my King of Spades, and I'm not sure if it took or if it's pregnant with something else, but I'm crossing my fingers and toes that it did take. Here's a new leaf, one of its pups put out while I was gone, so this one looks okay. I probably need to do some heavy watering. And then here is my Anthurium Philodendron. Again, I left this one in the living room while I was gone because this guy needs water. They put out this new leaf in my absence. Here's the latest leaf that it grew while I was gone. It's a little bit wonky because the plant wasn't on a high enough, well, it wasn't up high enough, and the leaf grew massive and fat out of nowhere. And then these guys up top, I don't know, I haven't really looked at them. There is some damage up here. I'm not 100% sure what's what. Let me have a look. This one is just really dry. Look, it's so dry. It hasn't died, but the leaves have suffered. You see this? You see this? This is uneven, underwatered. Underwatered, and when it was watered, watered very unevenly. It's Anthurium pedatum ex forgetii. I mean, it's so dry, I need to water it right now. Next to it, this one. This is Anthurium bomboicens. Again, very dried out. They definitely obviously need a repot, so they would be drying out very easily anyway. This is Anthurium pallidiflorum ex forgetii. Massively underwatered. Look at it, so dry, so dry. And maybe needs nutrients as well. Anthurium, I can't remember, velvet moira, is that a thing? Very dry. Again, everybody is mega dega dried out and needs to be watered. Maybe needs repot. This just needs, I don't know what she needs, but she's looking rough. This one up here is one of the first plants that I saw when I got home, and I kid you not, I cried because look at this. This is my Anthurium forgetii X Dark Magnificum, I think. Or is it Magnificum X Dark Forgetii? But look at it. Leaf dried out. New leaf dried out. Inflow dried out. Old leaf dried out. It looks terrible. And then we have, this is my Anthurium Friedrichstahlia. I mean, some of the leaves are dried out, but it's not the end of the world. This plant is pretty hardy. This is a new leaf growing and it's already dried out, so this plant is hideously underwatered. All its inflorescences are dry, but you know, although it likes a lot of water, it's resilient. It'll take a beating and it will hang in there. Behind it is Magnificum ex forgetii. Magnificum exforgetii, it's completely and utterly underwatered. Philodendron is real dense. Okay, I've been neglecting it, but look at how dried up these leaves are. They were perfectly green when I left, so you know. Like, it just isn't getting the water. This is my other Zara X Michelle Dot Block Hybrid. This plant was literally perfect when I left, and look at it. This leaf still looks okay. But yeah, there's yellowing. It's still, everything is just underwatered. This is my dark forgetii. Let me show you. To be honest, this one looks okay. It looks okay. So that's good. Luxurians, underwatered. It yellowed a leaf for the cause. That's fine. Anthurium ceronii. I think it's okay. It's got some browning. It's got some crispy tips, but whatever. This is Magnificum exforgetii. Brown crispy bits. C'est la vie, c'est la vie. And I think it's lost its next upcoming leaf. Vilena aurum, crispy. And then this one, I honestly don't remember what Anthurium this is. I think it's, I'm going to say it's Podophyllum. It's got crisping. This is my baby forgetii. They look okay. They've got some crispy bits. It's not the end of the world. This is another Magnificum exforgetii. So crispy. But you know, we move. It will be okay. This is a baby Vilena aurum. Honestly, I hate the way this plant grows. So it doesn't look good, but like, I don't care that much. And then this is my Anthurium longissimilobum, and it is suffering, dried out. It's very, very annoying. This is my forgetii. This is okay. One thing I like about the forgetii is if they're not getting enough water, they just grow more slowly. Now that it's adapted to my conditions, it doesn't crisp up as much. It just slow its growth. So that's good. Once I start watering it properly, like it wants, hopefully those new leaves will pop out. We'll see. That's an extra Philodendron Splendid that I have. I don't know. That thing looks ridiculous. I might get rid of it. Philodendron Plowmanii. Honestly, it looks pretty good. No yellowing. There's a new leaf trying to happen back there. Plowmanii is kind of a beast, so I'm not surprised. It's quite a resilient plant. Nothing untoward has happened. This is my King of Spades. This one leaf is yellowing, but that's okay. Down here is my Aglaonema, which is doing really well and is really happy, but I don't want it and I'm getting rid of it. So there you go. Things I don't want are fine. Things I love, in some instances, are doing awfully. C'est la vie. And that's it. Some wins, some L's. Overall, I'm just thankful that apart from one or two plants, all of them seem to have made it through the 3 weeks alive. I really haven't lost many at all. So that's really nice to see. I will be going through and treating all of them for pests, chopping off all those drying, crispy leaves, purging a couple that I actually don't want anymore. Yeah, I think before you know it, we'll be back in business. Till next time, I'll see you